you'll join in the salute to our nation's flag. Ready, begin. Okay, nothing's working here, okay. Sure. Okay, roll call and declaration of conflicts of interest, please.
Councilmember Abram.
Here and none.
Councilmember Bixel.
Here and none.
Vice Mayor Franco.
Here and none.
Councilmember Moniz.
Here and none.
Mayor Bublak.
Hearing none. Thank you for that. Approval of agenda as posted and or amended.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll,
We're,
please. What? Whoa.
we're pulling one item.
Also consent?
Yes, we are. Thank you. You gonna come to all the meetings for me?
This is my job.
Okay, for the motion, we're actually gonna be pulling item, I mean, we still have to go over it because it's on there, but item 9C is gonna be pulled,
Oh, but that's not off the consent calendar. So
but
just
just
off
so,
the agenda.
on the agenda itself, but yeah.
Okay. So.
All right, so what your motion is,
To amend, we're moving 9C.
thank you. And the second? It's still the second?
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember
Vice Mayor.
Abram.
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco.
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz.
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Yes, and it passes 5-0. Thank you for that. All right, now we have some proclamations and such. So we have an adoptable pet or pets. Is it true? Is it true? Just one. Bring 'em. And I think that our attorney is looking for one. Uh-oh.
They're always so cute. They always bring the cutest.
Oh, like, well, we're gonna talk to everybody. Somebody's gonna take me to home.
Pick me, pick me.
Oh, guess what?
Curtis, congratulations, Curtis.
Winner, winner.
All right, well, thank you.
You have been selected, Curtis.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Who do you have?
This is Taco.
Oh.
He's a 7-month-old male Belgian Malinois. He's been with us since July.
Uh-oh.
Yes, he knows sit, stay, and he's very treat motivated and obviously very friendly.
As most of us are.
Yes. And for the month of November, we are doing free adoptions for veterans and active military members.
Sweet.
Yes.
Oh, Pastor Rob already left, huh? All right, so Taco's available if anybody wants to catch her as she's walking out, because he's gonna try and talk to all of you guys at least, right?
Yeah, he is. Might go
Thank
around
you
this
so
side.
much for
Yeah.
bringing him.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a good night.
Chief Hedden, you're up, sir.
Manager Furtado, would you join me? It's my honor to read this proclamation on behalf of Mayor Bublak and the entire City Council in honor of Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Week. These are the people that are behind the scenes. They do a lot of stuff. They don't often get the credit that our police officers in uniform get, but they keep the ship rolling and they do tremendous, tremendous work to aid us in prosecutions and a number of things that we really appreciate the work they do. So in honor of Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Week, November 11th through 15th, 2024, whereas law enforcement agencies throughout the state depend on law enforcement records and support personnel to provide them with vital services, and whereas law enforcement records and support personnel are essential in helping law enforcement agencies uphold our mission to keep our community safe, and whereas these professionals continually use their experience and expertise to assist in tracking felons, maintaining criminal statistics, record keeping, improving apprehension strategies, and whereas it is important to recognize California law enforcement records and support personnel for their valuable contributions to our law enforcement system. And whereas our law enforcement records and support personnel serve our residents daily in countless ways. The work these professionals and dedicated staff members is invaluable in our public safety mission, and each of these dedicated men and women deserve our heartfelt appreciation. Now therefore, on behalf of Mayor Amy Bublak and the entire City Council, I do hereby proclaim November 11th through 15th, 2024 as Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Week in the City of Turlock, and encourage all citizens of the City of Turlock to show and express appreciation for these outstanding individuals. Amanda? Amanda is our Police Support Operations Manager. She oversees dispatch records and the business unit, which is the core and the heart of our professional staff. So she's accepting this on behalf of her team.
Speech, speech.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. I am happy to accept this on their behalf. As Chief mentioned, I have the privilege of working with these individuals every day. So I also want to say a quick thank you to them for all of their hard work and dedication to not only our department, but also to our community. They play an essential role, and our day-to-day operations of the police department wouldn't be possible without this unit and the amazing people that are staffing it. So thank you. Thank you for recognizing them.
Thank you so much. And he couldn't make it, but Dr. Nadeau is leaving Emmanuel Hospital. He got reassigned elsewhere, so he'd been here a couple of years, and we just wanted to give him an appreciation, let him know that we truly appreciate the engagement in Turlock, and we'll miss him and hope him well. So we'll be sending him a certificate of recognition. So thank you, Dr. Nadeau. Slate Communications, Director Sims. What do you got going on?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the public. At the July 23rd City Council meeting, council approved an item to allow Slate Communications to begin work on a City of Turlock communications plan. Slate Communications has been working on the plan and is with us tonight via Zoom to provide an update on their progress. So with us from Slate Communications is their CEO, Ms. Kim Newcomer, and their Director of Communications and Strategy, Ms. Kristen Knoll.
Welcome.
They welcomed you.
Wonderful.
Go ahead and feel free to share your screen and start your presentation.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to be here tonight. Kristen and I have a short presentation for you, but before we get started, I do just want to say thank you again for letting us be a part of this project. I spent a few days out in Turlock, about a month ago now. I had a chance to meet the mayor quickly, but not everybody. It's a beautiful community and really, really welcoming, and we're excited to share some of our findings today. What Kristen will take you through in this next few minutes is what we call our discovery report. This is really sort of the foundation from which we work and build the communication plan in its entirety. Really what we're looking here today is to share what we've learned and also get some of your feedback in terms of if this analysis and some of our findings resonate with you and if we're heading in the right direction. This is a big milestone for us, so once we get through this discovery report, then we move on to the development of strategies and tactics and implementation plans and all the good stuff that Anthony and his team will need to actually implement this. So we'll go through this quickly, but again, at the end of Kristen's presentation, we really would love to answer any of your questions and more so get your feedback on how you think this resonates with what you know about your community. So with that, Kristen, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Thanks, Kim. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to share the progress that we've made on developing the discovery report, and I will jump right in. So to get started, we like to do what's called kind of the fact-finding phase of developing the communications plan. This included Kim's visit out to Turlock, in addition to in-person interviews, external stakeholder meetings. This slide says that there were 17 external stakeholder meetings, but that included multiple people in each of those meetings. So that's not necessarily individuals, but groups of people that we've met with. We also hosted 2 in-person community conversation workshops that had low turnout, but probably about 10 to 15 people total. And we're in the process of gathering feedback from the community. And as of today, we have about 60 external communication survey responses, and I will maybe put a little plug in for anyone who's interested in taking the survey. It's still available online and on social media to share your feedback back on how you think the city is doing with communications and where you think improvements could be made. So all of these conversations help us sort of get to know the community a little bit better. From these conversations, we've identified kind of 4 audience segments that the full communications plan is really going to drill down and provide actionable tools and tactics for how to reach these audiences. But for tonight, I just wanted to point out that through our conversations, of course, we know that your residents are your primary stakeholders, but you have a lot of businesses who have invested in the community as well. And we want to develop some communication resources to help you reach your businesses better. We also have had really great conversations with some of your community partners, and they've indicated that connecting with city staff and city leaders is important to them, and so we see them as a really important audience. And then finally, we know that your community is really diverse, and you have a lot of community members who speak other languages other than English, and we want to make sure that we're building capacity around ways to reach some of those audience members that don't speak English, or maybe English is a second language for them. Through all of our interviews, reviewing some of the communication tools that the city is already using, and conducting our own research, we've dispelled what we heard down to a handful of common themes. So I wanted to touch on a few here. There are actually more in the full discovery report, but the top things that we've heard through our conversations are: 1, Turlock is actually a really great community, and we heard so many positive things about the city, and residents and businesses feel prideful of the community and are happy to be in the city. So that was a great piece of feedback to hear. Residents feel empowered to provide input to the city and view the organization as partners. So you are showing that you're listening to residents for the most part. We also heard that residents feel connected to each other and really take pride in the community. We've heard that communication has improved over the last few years. We know that you've already been taking steps to invest in communications, and it sounds like outside, residents and businesses are noticing that. But there is a desire to receive even more and impactful communication from the city as well. And as you know, the organization is really making this renewed investment in quality communications, both to plan for now and for long-term strategy and improvements in communication overall. I wanted to also touch on some of the common challenges that we heard through our interviews. So some of the things that we heard was that communication is a bit more reactive as opposed to being strategic, and sharing things almost too late for anyone to get involved or provide feedback. Communication from the city isn't segmented, so back to your audience segments, a lot of the same information is going to residents and businesses and community partners. And it might be more effective if we reached out to each of those audiences with different messages and different information. As you probably know, your website is difficult to navigate, and I think there are discussions to make improvements to the website. But we've heard from outside residents and community partners that they also struggle with finding important information on your website currently. To that same point, it sounds like from their perspective, information is often readily available, but it's not easy to find. So if you're already connected to the city and no council members or no staff, you kind of know what's going on. But if you're new to the community and don't know where to go, it's hard to find information. We also heard that customer service and response is just a little inconsistent across the city organization. And internal communications, so among staff and inside the organization, it's informal and kind of dependent on interpersonal communications more than tools that are being used on a regular basis to reach employees. We like to conduct a SWOT analysis and review your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And inside the larger discovery report, we have more bullet points on some of our findings here as well, but I wanted to touch on a handful of each in each segment here. So again, your strengths are that Turlock is really a close-knit community. There's a sentiment or sense that the city, like residents and businesses and the organization are moving in the same direction and have a lot of the same goals. You've already built a lot of positive momentum with communications out to the community and especially with business outreach efforts. Some of the weaknesses, again, are similar to your challenges where communication staff is spending more energy on those day-to-day operations instead of being a little bit more strategic. Access to some communication tools and platforms are missing for current staff. So we've heard that logging in and getting access to some platforms have been a challenge due to some staff turnover, but I think that's improving a little bit. And that inconsistent communication creates an environment where residents don't know where to look for the most timely and accurate information. Some opportunities that we've heard and noticed are, again, these community partners are really interested and willing to collaborate to expand communication reach. So we think that's an opportunity to take hold of. And we'd like to develop some tools to hopefully make that easier and maybe a little more streamlined. Of course, increasing multilingual communications. You've started the process of translating some materials into Spanish and other languages, but it's a little inconsistent still. Increased transparency by making important data easy to find and understand, and utilizing that more targeted outreach approach. And thinking about the youth population, knowing that what we've heard, a lot of residents grow up in Turlock, they go to school at CSUS, and then they stay. So how can we tap into maybe those future volunteers, future voters, when they're younger? A few threats we wanted to point out, and I want to make just a statement before we dive into these, that sometimes threats are out of your control, but they are things that we should be aware of and keep in the back of our mind as we think about developing a bigger strategic communications plan. So the threats that we see are, again, you have a really large population that speaks a different language. So according to the data, we found about 45% of the population speaks a language other than English. So the city doesn't have the tools right now to reach all of those multilingual residents yet. A tight-knit community means that word of mouth is still really important, but sometimes it's not accurate. So that's a challenge that we might need to overcome. We've also heard that homelessness is really a community-wide challenge that impacts residents' perception of city services related to safety, parks, and economic development. So how do we talk about some of those things in the community? And I think, like most communities, as you continue to grow, Turlock might be at risk of losing its small town feel, which residents have really said they love about the community. So just something to remember and be aware of. This slide, I just wanted to touch on other sort of fact-finding and analytics work we've done to develop the discovery report. So we reviewed your city brand, that's your logo and your fonts and how you're using visuals in social media and on print materials. We conducted a social media audit to view your audiences and see your reach and see what kind of posts are, getting the most likes and shares online. And we did a website analysis to review, what your current website looks like and where there are opportunities to make improvements. So from all of this work, we've really dispelled it down into 5 key takeaways. And these takeaways, as Kim had mentioned, really are going to be sort of the launch pad for how we develop the strategic communications plan. So this first key takeaway is that residents speak positively about the city and have deep roots and pride in the community. Number 2, segmenting communication messages to reach different audiences can help improve communication reach and engagement. City communication efforts should include both traditional and non-traditional communication tools and tactics to reach the city's diverse population. And by that, what we mean is traditional communication is word of mouth and printed material and in-person opportunities to connect. And then those non-traditional tools are, videos and polls online and, maybe some fun or other creative things that we can do to reach those different audience segments. Number 4, creating consistency in communication methods, timing, and distribution, which will increase the reliability and credibility of information. And finally, developing response standards and guidelines to make interactions more effective and efficient for both staff and residents. So with that, we'll open it up for questions, and we're definitely interested to hear if, kind of our takeaways resonate with you, or if you have anything that you'd like to add or any additional questions you have for us.
What's your next step?
What is the next step, Kristen?
You bet. Yeah, so the next step is taking all of the information and data that we have and turning it into that actionable strategic communications plan. So what we like to include in these plans are, like I've said, tools, so actual things that you and staff can use and put into practice, tactics for how to make it effective and hopefully reach those audiences that you want to reach. And then we also like to build in toolkit items. So those are resources that you can refer to when deploying a new communication tactic. And oftentimes we create toolkit items for both communication staff and kind of your non-communication staff who are out in the community on a regular basis. That might be public works staff or parks and rec staff, council members or individuals that serve on boards and commissions that are that can help be an extension of the organization and be a positive communicator on your behalf.
Is this enough data to actually move forward with that? Or, I mean, this is such a small sample, it doesn't seem like it resonates enough of our community.
Were you guys able to hear the mayor's question?
Can you repeat that,
Sorry,
please?
Mayor. Yeah, can you repeat that, Anthony?
Yes. Do you feel that you have enough data to go to the next step, or is this sample size too small? Do we need more time to gather more data?
It's a good question. The survey's still open, and I always say that it is really interesting when we do these surveys. It's really hard to say, 100 people, only 100 people out of however, 80,000 responded. But every time, once we sort of hit that 100, 150 response rate, you really start to see the trends. And I would be more concerned if the interviews weren't so consistent. They were amazingly similar, right? It's a small town feel, close-knit community. The city is a partner in trying to build and create a better Turlock those challenges that Kristen went over, we heard again and again, and the positive aspects we heard again and again. So if it was any of those in isolation, I might be more nervous. But I do think if we can get a few more responses in that survey that I suspect are going to lend even more support or validate even further what we've heard consistently throughout our interviews, I think we're in a good place.
Other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. No further questions, sorry.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is the time set aside for public participation. Each is given 3 minutes. There's a timer here and here to keep you on task. Any item that is not on the agenda you can address. We will not necessarily speak back to you. If you have questions, we may point you in another direction or ask you to have that information on a card so that we can have the appropriate person reach out to you. So I have 2 cards. And Ramon?
Good evening, council members, members of the community. Again, the presentation was interesting and helpful because we need to reach out many people here with communication and the website. I've been looking at the website and it does need a lot of work because it looks like it's something out of like the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I've been looking at a series of websites of other cities and they're more modern, slick, responsive, and it works on all browsers, whether you're on the computer or on the smartphone, and it's responsive. Sometimes it opens up without having to go to a page and then you gotta click, it just opens on the same page. You know, responsive web browsing. So that's what we need to focus on because when we have newcomers, residents that were desiring to move to Turlock or businesses opening up and they're looking for information, a modern looking website is very critical because when you have people that want to do business or moving into Turlock and they want to go to a website, look something like business permits, where to contact for services, and they are like confused and lost, that gives a really not so good impression. And we have like people now, young kids, the adults, people looking for jobs, and they're studying web development. There are so many talent around here in Turlock. Even students from the Bay Valley Tech, they teach web development, and maybe they can help develop a website, a prototype website, and then test it out and see how they react for the community. I mean, and give us a community, see how the website will look for the city. And another topic is the infrastructure, the road traffic in Monte Vista crossings. It's getting bad. When the holiday season's coming in, the traffic should get worse because the intersections, the lights don't work. They don't seem very well. You got cars piling up all over. And when you're trying to get out from the driveway from Safeway and Verizon, it piles up. I've seen it every day, and there's like a really bad traffic jam. And when the holiday season comes, it's going to get even uglier. And we need to do something with Monte Vista crossings because honestly, when Turlock Rose, we need to get the traffic situation fixed. Otherwise, it's going to be a real mess, and that's going to create headaches, and businesses are not going to move in. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thina?
Good evening, council members and Mayor Amy Bublak. I am a Stanislaus State University student, so this is my first city council meeting. Thank you. I would like to address an issue regarding North Tully Road. So I've been going to Planet Fitness for about 3 years now, and my mother and I always have to take the same route there, and we have to cross North Tully Road. In between Platt Electric Supply and DeHart Roofing, there's a section in this road that is so bumpy, and it lasts about 13 seconds, but it's 13 seconds of so it's really like hard, and we always try, my mother and always tries to avoid these bumps, but since this is a two-way road, it can like be a little risky, obviously. And I do recall a moment when my mother and I were going to the gym, and there was a truck coming towards us, and the truck went off of the road into our lane, and I was behind the driving, so I am a new driver, and obviously that scared me, so I pulled off the side. So if there's anything we can do with that, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Good job going to the gym. I like that. All right, I have no other cards. Are there other people who wanted to speak? Come on up. He's sitting in the back.
Good evening, council, staff, and fellow Turlock residents, Milt Treeweiler. We humans think we're pretty smart. Each of us think we know the truth and all the truth. And you know, I'm no exception to that. I believe that what I'm saying is the truth. And before I, say something, I research it to make as certain as I can that I know what I'm talking about. And it's a normal human way of dealing with this. But I do want to just let you know that you can fool the people, but you can't fool the laws of physics and mathematics. We're using up the resources that will be needed for our children and future generations so they can survive. And this is really an issue. We don't often think about it, but again, I brought the globe because, of course, this is our planet Earth right here, and this is where we live. Well, we live here in California in the Central Valley, and that Central Valley just happens to be the best farmland in the world. And that's great. It's absolutely fabulous that we live in the area with the best farmland in the world. And this is an impartial statement here because this can be, you could check it any way you want to. I'm sure most of you have driven through Nevada, you've driven through New Mexico, you've driven through Arizona and Texas. You're not going to find farmland like you have here in California because it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So this really presents an opportunity for us. And that opportunity is that we can preserve this farmland. And it was really interesting to hear the talk about the surveys that they've taken in Turlock. It was repeated over and over again. We have that small town feeling. And that is what makes us so special. And that's what we have to really go for. For some reason, it should be simple, but it's not. I still remember Turlock when it had less than 5,000 people. It wasn't like it is today. It's really nice today because we have just about everything we need, all the services, everything we need. So, more importantly, we actually have the responsibility to plan for the welfare of our children and our descendants. No one else is going to do that for us. Thank you.
Anyone else who didn't fill out a card? Come on up. Barely see her back there.
Hi, City Council members. It's also my first City Council meeting. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I just had a question. I was wondering if any of you guys know of any area that I could recommend parents to go to parenting classes for free, because I know that most parenting classes do require a reference, and I believe that most children that are under some parents' roofs really need their parents to go to parenting classes, because a lot of them can't afford rent and stuff, and that causes them to need to move. And what that causes is that the kid needs to move where they are at school, and that can be hard sometimes because sometimes they won't accept kid at another school if they don't have residence there. So I'm wondering, like, where is
where can I find something that will like help out the parents so that they can feel more stable and supported?
Director Sims, will you put your hand up, sir? That young man right there will
Thank
help
you so
out.
much.
You bet. Anyone else? Okay, we will close public comment and move on to the consent calendar.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes. Vice
Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you. Final readings. We have the second and final reading of an ordinance for Turlock Municipal Code speed zones. I'll open it to the public. Nobody wants to drive fast. Okay, we'll close public comment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, it passes 5-0. Mr. Petrolakis.
Yeah, I have a conflict, Mayor, on 8B, as the developer is a client of my firm, so I'm going to step out, and if you need me, I'll be in the back.
Okay. Can you order a pizza? All right, this is a final reading on a negative declaration and mitigation. I will open it to the public. It's regarding 337 West Avenue South. Anybody want to speak on this? Okay, we'll close the public comment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, and thank you for going and getting him. You think you got the pizza in time? Okay. All right, public hearings. Item A is an out-of-boundary service agreement, sanitary sewer connection affecting real property located at 1000 Mitchell Avenue. Ms. Warner, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, council members, members of the public and staff. Tonight is a request from a property owner at 1000 Mitchell Avenue to have water and sewer services delivered to a property. Currently, the property is vacant. It's at 1000 Mitchell. It's in between Mitchell Avenue and Olive. So it's just around the corner. It's behind TID, but just down to the east a little bit. They are proposing to eventually build 4 houses on the property. And so there is sewer and water in Mitchell, but there is no sewer along Star Avenue. So they're looking to extend the sewer from our sewer line ends approximately around where the alleyway is. So they want to extend that service down to Mitchell's to serve the 4 houses that they're proposing to build. Our ordinance does require that we have an out-of-boundary agreement to allow for services to be served outside of our jurisdiction. Since this is a county item, we do want to encourage the connection of the services and working with the county for future annexation of those county islands. So we will, staff is in support of this. It's just kind of we have to go through the agreement because they are not in the city, to allow them to connect to sewer and services. Their contractor will be working to extend those lines. Our services are mainly going to be, our costs are mainly for them to connect to the line, but they will incur the cost of actual construction. So, if anyone has any questions?
Questions for the director? Oh, did you have something? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, the staff report says that the owner has not asked yet, but you just said that they are asking. I'm confused. So have they asked us to do this, or are we
Yes.
putting the cart before the horse?
No, they've asked, that's what
Okay,
the application
staff report
first,
says
yes.
they have
That's
not
probably
asked
the
yet.
typo, sorry.
Now, have they been made aware of the fact that it's going to be really expensive for them to connect?
Yes.
Okay, because, you know.
They didn't pass out?
4 residences, connections, new lines and everything. And are we in discussions with the county on them bringing the property up to the standards that it would need to be in order for us to annex?
Yes, so the property owner's already been in discussion with the county that the county will be putting in curb gutter and sidewalks, those improvements along the frontage. So as they go to build, so they will be doing that to city standards.
But just for that property, not for the whole entire island?
No, because it's just this property that's going to be developed.
Okay, so then are our lines that we're extending, are they large enough for the whole entire island, or is it just for this property?
It's just for this property. As they're going down, so coming down Mitchell Avenue, there are water and sewer lines there.
Right.
So there are
I drove
not.
by yesterday.
Right, so there aren't, the sewer lines end at the alleyway, so they want to extend that down to bring sewer down that way. I think what I did say there is, they have not requested to bring water down,
Okay, just sewer.
just sewer. So, but there is water in Mitchell. So I understand what the confusion in my staff
Yeah.
report is.
I'm just wondering, why are we only taking into consideration just this one property, where if we do this and we extend these lines, if we bring the whole island in, we're gonna have to redo lines, because they're not gonna be big enough for the entire island. So it's almost like we'd be doing this twice.
So at this point in time, we haven't really moved forward with the county on how to annex all of those, the county islands. What we want to do is annex them all at one time.
Right.
So that is, that's a discussion that is still ongoing with the county. So it kind of has to be done as a property owner is requesting to extend those lines.
So what is the city of Turlock's outlay of cash on this whole thing?
So
Are we gonna have to pay for it first, and then they're going to reimburse as they build?
no, well, for the water lines?
For
For anything?
So, no, right now, any building, because it's still in the county, has to go through the county. We're not going to incur any cost for that. So the building permits, anything like that is not a cost for us.
Right, thank you.
Is the
Do you
county- I'm
know
sorry.
how many residents are in that county island?
No, I don't have that.
It's like a 2-block radius.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Is it 20, is it 30, is it 50, is it?
I just looked on Google. It's probably less than 20 homes on that property. Yeah, it's not, that island's not that big.
The county's approved this?
It still has to go to LAFCO for approval. So they have not, and Brianna's here, the applicant's here. They've not, as far as I know, they will submit their application for building permits for the homes through the county, but the application still has to go to LAFCO for approval.
Any other questions for the director? Okay, we'll open it to the public. Brianna, did you want to come and speak, or you guys? Okay, you do whatever you need to do. Good evening, sir.
My name is Mel Lorero from Antigua. I own Progressive Designs. Our assumption is that the sewer is located on Mitchell, sewer and water, just 15 feet just to the north of the existing property line, or south of the property line there. So it's only going to be attached to that short distance. And talking to Public Works from the county, they're proposing to develop the roads and sidewalks for that whole area, which is happening next year. So right now, we spoke to them. They said that we would, if they would do the sidewalks, the county, we would pave the alleyway. So we're going to pave the alleyway up to the back of the property, and inclusive of the sidewalks that they would do at the time when they're doing the other sidewalks at that time. So we would pay for it up front, and they would reimburse us at that time with a bond.
And you're set with water?
Yes. The water and septic are at the same location at that point. Right next to each other. The water and septic are on Mitchell.
Sewer lines.
Sewer line.
lines, I'm sorry. Sewer lines.
Technicalities.
Yeah.
Questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Yes.
Yes, I hope everyone had a chance to see where this property is. This has always been a question in my mind. There was something that came out about 5 years ago. I mean, it's 20 homes right smack dab in the middle of Turlock. It's just to the north of Canal Avenue, right in the middle of town. And I could never understand, when the other thing came up, why we were not annexing this property. It's ridiculous that we don't annex this property. The reason I say that is because I actually talked to a friend when I was walking around Turlock on the west side, and I've known him for 50 years, and he had the hardest time annexing into the city of Turlock. He was also in a little county island. I'm not saying it's an issue, I'm not saying it's the city of Turlock's fault. What I'm saying is, this is our opportunity to get these islands, or this particular island, into the city of Turlock. And that's where it should be, because it's right in the middle. It's just right in the middle of our city. And it's not that large. So I don't understand what when the builder wants, I don't think we should approve this. I think we should say, okay, county, you get your act together, and we'll take all 20 homes at one time. It's right in the middle of Turlock. Let's quit playing around with this. We've got some very large islands in the West District, or West Side, and we want to get those into the city, because it's ridiculous to have this land sitting there and not being utilized. It could be developed. They could put in apartment complexes and things like that in this area. It'd be an ideal location for that. It's time to figure out, I wouldn't approve it. It's time to figure out what we can do to get this island into the city, since it's in the middle of the city, as you mentioned. I mean, the services are right next to it. Let's work on that. Let's work from that angle. Thank you.
Bob?
I'm probably going to follow what Milt said. I would like to have thought that the city engineering staff has at least contacted the county about what it would take to annex this property. All those buildings there are proposed. It's not like he has an existing residence on there. But I also realize he's probably very anxious to get it developed. But I think this is something where you really ought to step back, and you ought to contact the county, and you ought to say, look, we want to annex it. What can you provide to it? What can we provide to it? And as far as the gentleman there, perhaps he could say, okay, well, it's going to cost me to put the lines in this much money, and he can contribute that also into it, and take in the whole thing at once. It was within the last 5 years, there was an arson fire over in that county island, backed up into a city of Turlock apartment complex there. I can't tell you exact dates or something like that, but I remember it happened in that area. And there's no lights, there's no curbs, there's no gutters. And I'll bet if you look at the police things, there's been a dangerous area there, smack dab in the middle of Turlock. And all of a sudden now it's handed you an opportunity to annex it and work with the county and say, this has got to get done. And after you get that one done, then go to the next island. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we will close the public comment and bring it back for some dialogue.
Well, I'm actually in agreement with that. I think we should be talking to the county and getting them to bring these properties up to our standards so we can annex them into the city. So while I absolutely love the idea of this homeowner or this owner putting 4 units on there, I think that we're putting the cart before the horse in approving something before we get an agreement with the county.
Can I ask to extend that point? What's a reasonable timeline on if we were to seek annexation of just this one island?
Probably anywhere from 12 to 24 months. So you would also, to annex that county island, all the property owners have to agree to be annexed. So to start the discussions, if some of them don't want to be annexed, If LAFCO is not in favor of it, then it would not go anywhere. We do have to have open dialogue with not only the LAFCO, county planning as well, that they will be putting in those improvements to city standards. So that would be a discussion that would be starting. So 24 months would be quick.
So if we're gonna start annexing islands, I have most of the county islands in my district. So if we're gonna open it up for one, we're gonna get the west side in there too.
Right.
Right?
The plan-
Everything needs to be annexed.
Yeah.
I've asked the Board of Supervisors, and you kind of get, I don't want to say stonewalled, but stonewalled a little bit. So what's it going to take? Because I have 3 or 4 big spots in my district that I would like to see.
Yeah.
With curb and gutter and sidewalk.
What staff has always wanted was to not piecemeal the annexations, is let's annex all of them in at the same time. So, instead of going with each island, but that's outreach to all those property owners in all those county islands to agree to be annexed. And it's not always a yes. So there could be some property owners that don't, or, there could be some property owners that don't want to be annexed. Part of the agreement with the out-of-boundary agreements is that when we do go to annex these properties, they won't dispute that annexation. And that's the trade-off for us, extending those services, that you won't dispute being annexed when that time comes.
Didn't the county already say they were doing this area? I know that actually, before you answer, Mr. Wilson and I met with the CEO and one of the Board of Soups, and they just pulled out a map, and I said, oh, great, we're in the west side. No, we're gonna do right here. Am I right?
That's correct.
And that was 2 years ago?
Probably around that.
So, I mean, weren't they already going to do this, or did I miss something?
I have seen some from our engineering department, I think our city engineer is here, maybe not. But I have seen some improvement plans that we have reviewed of them doing some frontage in this county, in the county islands in this area. So I don't know exactly where those are at in the engineering reviewing process, but I have seen those in the past 6 months.
Director Fisher's
there we
coming
go.
back up. Uh-oh.
Tell us something good.
Good evening, Director.
Thank you. Good evening. So we have seen some of those plans to do the frontage improvements. We have returned them because we don't feel that they meet the city standards. There's also an additional problem because it's its own water district. So we would need to basically get rid of that water district. That's managed by the city of Modesto. So we would have to abolish that and connect all city services because our system, it just doesn't meet our standards.
So Director Fisher, when you say you've seen some plans on that, is that just the Mitchell Road Island, or have you seen plans for my west side islands too?
That is just the Mitchell Road Island that I've seen.
That's just always the way it is. Oh, no dice.
The reality is we want to do exactly that. We want this, to be annexed by the city. We would rather not piecemeal it because of the complexity of the water system. There's 7 water systems that don't belong to the city of Turlock within the city of Turlock, and that would be the majority of the work to bring those up to our standard.
Is the proposal here for them to use city water or the water district's water?
No, if you agree to the out-of-boundary agreement, then they would connect to city water and sewer.
To address the concerns about not making improvements that may have to then be done again in a couple of years, would it be possible to reverse engineer it to have them, if it's pipe size or whatever it happens to be, to where, we should have an idea what it's gonna take to, to service those 20 or 25 homes or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's.
Is that something that can be, like I said, reverse engineered to apply to this project?
When it comes to residential homes, the flow is so small in comparison to any commercial or industrial. Typically what happens is we connect them to our mains. Our mains are designed to handle more of the load, and in this case, the main is close enough to where I think it's a less than a 40-foot connection piece of that. So we'd be taking a smaller line and dumping it into a larger line.
So, if you're telling me that shouldn't be a problem if in 2, 3, 4, 72 years they decide to annex it.
That was a big leap. Is that new math?
You know, of course, you know, we're constantly evaluating the condition of our lines, and we're constantly evaluating, you know, because what happens is they get pared down, they all end up at the same spot, so they all have to converge to larger and larger and larger lines, and they're all fed through gravity. So, you know, we would look at that, and unfortunately in this case, you know, there's a couple of directions we can go, and with this one specific product, there's only one direction we can go. But you know, future annexation of the additional properties, they have other options.
And that's the water lines? What about the sewer lines?
The sewer lines are basically what you're concerned. They're all flowed by gravity. The water
Right,
lines, the pressure compensates. So you know, we don't.
Poo
foresee-
flows downhill, right?
Yeah.
That's what I-
Yeah,
It
pretty
helps
much.
that way.
It all flows to the bottom of the rainbow. It's recycled water, please.
My bad.
But the sewer lines are adequate for this property right now, but probably not for the entirety of the island?
You know, it's a possibility we'd have to upsize, but this run is so short, it's really indifferent at this point. You know, we'd be connecting the same size lines from that property to the upside sewer line.
And after it's built, the amenities are done, curb gutter sidewalks, alleys paved.
City peeps?
It's still a county island, correct? It's not annexed into the city.
That's correct.
Well, I feel like I appreciate that they want to do this, and I know this is going to cost way more if you don't do it right now, because the economy sucks. We already closed up now for, let me see where we're going with this real quick. So, I feel like, you know, they're trying to produce a little bit more here for people, but I also see that I would love the city of Turlock to be involved in saying, hey, we want this county to be a part of the deal and not mandate or just kind of nickel and dime us for this. And it's not you, I'm saying the county per se. So I'm kind of torn with a yes or a no. I mean, I get it. But I feel like I would way rather work on some of the infrastructure on the west side if we're looking at doing an island, any one of the 4 islands she has over there or there. So but we're talking about a very small area, and it's going to be, you know, we're not going to have sheriff. The sheriff will be responding. It'll be, even if it's annexed, it's going to be up to standards more than they have right now. I don't know.
I just think it's a step in the right direction to bring some new development in that area that maybe will show the other folks in the neighborhood that it's worth annexing.
I agree that with a lot of these comments here that, yeah, I would love to see the west side have its islands be of the same standard as, you know, my district doesn't have islands, and it should not be that there are pockets in our city that are substandard. But I feel like that's kind of a different issue here, and I don't want to have our, I think, consensus that the island should be annexed and we want those things to come up to city standard to get in the way of what looks like it's going to be a good project for development, for the area, for improving things over time. So I would like to see this move forward tonight.
Mr. Wilson, were you going to say something?
I'll keep my comments to myself, thank you.
Fair enough. All right.
One thing I think it's important to also mention too is our roads program goes through a lot of these areas, and you know, we're working with the county to get an agreement that we can, you know, add the sidewalks and curbs at their cost, but as part of our projects. And I think that's also a step in the right direction. We made a little push from council and council members, you know, to make that move forward. But I think there's another opportunity there as well.
Move to approve.
There you have it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
No.
Councilmember Moniz?
No.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes. Passes with the 3-2. All right. Thank you. I guess Mr. Fisher up next again, sir. You want to talk about sewage?
Yeah, moving right along. Yeah. Well, I didn't get to say proper good evening, so good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Tonight, I'm bringing you an introduction and the first reading of an ordinance to amend Turlock Municipal Code, Title 6, Sanitation and Health, specifically Chapter 6.4, Sewage Disposal, Article 4, Fees and Charges, and where we will be adding 6.4-409 sewer service user rate updates. We're bringing this to you in response to some feedback that we had from the council following the October 8th meeting where the new sewer rates were brought forward following an extensive cost of service study. The previous sewer rates had not been evaluated since 2013. And the proposed sewer rates represented a significant realignment, which has really impacted our significant industrial users. It's generally best practices to perform the cost of service study every 5 years. In that way, with our goal of ensure that the rate models accurately represent the actual cost of the service. Costs are equitably distributed amongst the customer classes by their contributions and allows for less significant impact to the customer classes if we do it more frequently. The addition of the municipal code will read as follows. The city will endeavor to review its cost of service and adopt updated sewer service user rates pursuant to all applicable laws at least every 5 years. Rates may be updated sooner than 5 years if warranted by significant changes in the city's cost of service or the flows and loads received by the city's sewer system. Following this approval of this action, the second and final reading of this ordinance will be presented at the City Council on December 10th. The City Council meeting then formally included in the Turlock Municipal Code shortly thereafter. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Emma. Don't work.
I have a question. So this is specifically about sewer rates. However, you mentioned it's best practice for all utilities that we offer to, engage in this process every 5 years. Do you intend to include something like this for garbage, for water, when we get there?
Yeah, as we go through, we intend to bring water. Water hasn't been updated since 2017. Last rate adjustment we have is in 2022. So we're going to bring that forth pretty quickly. We'll do the same thing on each one of those as we go because they're each separate parts of the municipal code.
Other questions? Okay, we'll open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we will close public comment, bring it back.
Thank you for getting this back to us so quickly.
That was awesome.
Appreciate that.
I
Yeah,
have a
move to
question.
approve.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I have a question, and maybe this is for Mr. Petrolakis in writing municipal codes.
Fun stuff.
I think this is a great sentiment, but it's very light on, we're just going to do our best to do our jobs every 5 years. Is there any advisability to having but no longer than 7 years or 8 years? Is that something that other municipalities do put in their code?
The language is a little aspirational, right? When it says endeavor to review, I think that was put in there. Actually, I assumed, I didn't check, it was put in there in case there are a budget and staffing cuts that make things difficult to perform within a time certain. So I think that's the prerogative of the council. I mean, you certainly could change it or keep it as is.
Mr. Fisher?
Well, and that was the case, but it wasn't the main reason why. If we were to have another pandemic per se, where we're worried about the cost of living and those types of increases, some of this could cause us to move forward with that and actually increase our rates. So really, the idea was we could bring it to the council, and the council would decide if we would choose to move forward with it or not. And these things should be reviewed every year. I mean, we should look at how well our rates are performing for us. Are they meeting the needs of the city? Are we are they not? Then again, I mentioned it before, is there's a maximum rate that we can take. We don't always have to take the maximum if our rates are performing well for us.
Oh, you did?
Oh.
I didn't hear you.
All right, so we have a motion by Vice Mayor and a second by Councilmember Abram. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes. Passes a 5-0.
Thank you.
George? Did you have something? Nothing? Okay, so item C is pulled, but but it is on the agenda, so I will open it to the public for you, if you want to speak to this, but we won't be discussing it at all. And this is just the housing element update. Okay, we'll close public comment and move on with that. We'll see that probably in January. Action item. I'm sorry.
May I ask a question about it?
I don't know. It's pulled, so I don't think, can we discuss it publicly if it's pulled?
You made me turn my mic off. I think you could have a general discussion of it without going into details. If it's a kind of more of a procedural question, I think would be.
It was more procedural. For Mr. Wilson, when will we get this back, seeing as the timeline is, we're behind?
Well, my expectation is we'd bring it back right after the first of the year. We only have one meeting left after this one this year.
Okay, and if you can't answer this one, I'll just talk about this privately, but seeing as we're kind of working within the good graces of HCD on being this far behind, is that timeline still acceptable for them? Do we know?
We don't know.
So it might be on December if they find it needs to move faster?
Yes.
Okay. Fair? Okay, we'll move on to item 10A. Mr. Fisher, you're still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the action that I'm bringing to you tonight is accepting the improvements for City Project 2446, which was an emergency repair of the Far Street sanitary sewer main, authorizing city engineer to file a notice of completion for the project. This one was a little bit different than our typical. This was actually declared an emergency. So on Wednesday afternoon, October 23rd, a 6-inch sewer main was found to have collapsed during an inspection following a roads program, City Project 23033. The damage prevented unimpaired flow for the 5 residential homes and the 1 business on Far Street between Columbia and Main, ultimately causing a loss of sewer service to the 6 parcels. Upon discovery, the staff formed a task force. We assessed the situation, determined the necessary steps to resolve the issue, and determine appropriate services to all those affected by the outage. During this time, city staff determined that the extent of the damage was warranted the replacement of about 300 feet of the sewer main on Far Street. The acting city manager, Sarah Eddy, declared under the authority delegated to the city manager by the city resolution 2010-028 that the replacement of the sewer main was an emergency, and directed staff to replace the infrastructure without giving notice for bids to let contracts. This is authorized by section 22050, section B, subsection 1 of the Public Contract Code. Following the direction of the acting city manager, staff secured United Pavement Maintenance, who was mobilized on another city project, and authorized them to replace the sewer main. Contractor, along with city staff, worked through the night and were able to return the service to the parcels by about 6 a.m. the following day. Following the restoration of services, the acting city manager terminated the emergency. The repair trench was hot patched, and it will be restored to city standards. So the action tonight is to accept the improvement and authorize city engineer to file a notice of completion.
Questions for the director? Okay, open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Close public comment, and Councilmember Moniz.
I just have a comment. I just want to say thank you. Number 1, for getting my road repaved. Number 2, for all the city staff that worked after hours, literally jumping through hoops to ensure that our citizens were had their lives disrupted as little as possible, including one of our businesses. Thank you. Great job.
Yeah, the city staff just all came together, and and every department helped on that. So the kudos to to all of them.
That company was amazing too, yeah?
Yeah, they were actually really great to work. Even they were all joking. It was they were there for business, and they got it done. And it's better than than it was before.
Record time.
Yeah.
1 day. Great job. Move to approve.
No, wait, Vice Mayor wanted.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just seconding.
Oh, my bad. Did you guys have anything? Build a pool. Ouch.
Yeah, we should have used them to build my pool.
Too
I was
soon?
waiting for that.
Too
Yeah,
soon?
I was waiting for that.
We have a
Yeah.
motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, 5-0. Thank you for that.
Thank
All
you.
right, city manager reports are written, council member comments and announcements, and let's put it all together. And items for future consideration.
Hit it, trifecta.
I only have comments tonight, but I would like to thank our city administration staff for their work for a new agenda system. So if you ever try to look at our agendas from the future, they're going to be much easier to find. You can search for things. We are going in the right direction. So thank you, everyone, for your work on that. And there was a comment earlier about the website. It was brought up in our communications plan. It's in the agenda that it's happening. They're reviewing things. So I'm really excited for the future of what the communications could be. The website's going to be a big part of it. So I think things are moving in the right direction there. Thank you to staff and everyone who came to the Veterans Day commemoration yesterday. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there. And I'm losing my last. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving to staff. I won't see you until after that. So thank you.
Yeah, well, follow up with wish everybody, city staff, citizens, to just take a moment to be thankful. Hug a family member, and we live in a great country. Let's be all thankful for it.
Same sentiments on yesterday's Veterans Day. It was a beautiful ceremony as usual. Staff did fantastic. Pastor Ron's not here. He did a fantastic job as well. So I appreciate and thank all the vets out there for their service and their sacrifice for our country. Happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll see everyone at the Christmas parade on December 6th at 6:30 on Main Street, and also the Turkey Trot.
You running?
No, I am not. But it is on November 23rd at Donnelly Park. And as this is my last full meeting as a council member, I've enjoyed working with all the staff and all of my colleagues. And so thank you for everybody.
Thank you to all the veterans for your service. And Athena, are you still here? There you are. So our reporter from the Turlock Journal already beat you for Tully Road, sister. So we're already beating up on the road doctor to get that slotted for repaired next year because it's a hot mess, and we know it. But thanks for coming. I hope you get credit in your class tonight. My last comment: our police department chief. We had a shooting in my district, and it took the police department about 12 hours to solve it and get a guy in custody. Yeah. Well done. Thank you. We appreciate the extra patrols on the west side, all the extra police present, and the job that you guys do every day out there. Thank you very much.
All right, for Thanksgiving's sake, I'll just be the cop that I am. If you're gonna drink, get somebody else to drive for you, please. Let's not have this be your last Thanksgiving or somebody else's by your acts. We have closed session, Madam Clerk.
Tonight, for closed session, item 14A, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, California Government Code 54956.9D2, cases R2. 14B is conference with labor negotiators, California Government Code 54957.6A. Agency designated representative is Deputy City Manager Sarah Eddy, and the employee organizations are Turlock City Employees Association, Turlock Firefighters Association, Local 2434, and Turlock Management Association, Public Safety.
Outstanding. All right, so we will report out should there be something. If not, then be safe for the Thanksgiving holiday. we're back and we have something to report? No? No? Nothing to report. Thank you so much.